Thank you. Thank you. Isn't that great? Great story. A few months ago, when I finally had a chance to sit down and break bread with this man whom I have felt was, you can hear from the way he speaks and the way I feel and what's in my voice, how I feel about this and how I really used him as a role model for doing the work that I do. And I was told that Ram Dass wanted to come to Maui, and nothing made me happier than that. But that it's difficult for him to travel, and that because of the large numbers of medical expenses and because of the fact that he lived his life of service, that what could we do, said his friend Chuck Blitz, what could we do to help Ram Dass at this time in his life, to have people come to Maui to sit satsang with him, because traveling is so much more difficult. And what can we do to provide a home, and what can we do to have a foundation to make sure that this man is provided for? And I could feel Maharaj-ji smiling. I told you it would all be taken care of. So I said to them, to Ram Dass, with his permission, that night I went to bed, and I said, I will write a letter and I will put it on the internet, and we will hold a fundraiser right here on Maui, and we will create a healing place right here for this beautiful man. And his teachings will continue. We'll introduce him to a whole new generation of people. And his teachings will be reissued, and there will be films made, and there will be tapes put out there, and this great wisdom, which you've just had a little smattering of, will become bestseller material all over again for a whole new generation of people, and they will come here to Maui. And we all know what Maui is like, don't we? And Chuck said, but I don't know if we can... we're talking about raising a lot of money. I said, well, there's a lot of people who feel about Ram Dass the way I feel about Ram Dass. And I'm going to let Maharaj, I'm going to let him write this letter through me. I'm going to let it come to me. And I went back that night and I got up at 4 o'clock, which I do every morning. The morning breeze has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. That's from Rumi. I have that embedded on the inside of my forehead. And I put my feet on the floor. The morning breeze has secrets to tell you. Do not go back to sleep. You all wake up between 3 and 4 every day. The morning breeze has secrets to tell you. If you get up, it'll come through you. Do not go back to sleep. I do all my writing at that time. It's the most glorious time of the day. And this is what came through me that night, and it's been on the internet. It's been all over the internet. And there have been people who've been writing and saying it's not true and it's this and that, but that's the way the internet is. I write a book and there's 275 reviews. Some of them think I'm the greatest thing that ever walked, and some think I'm just an asshole. It's just, and they're both right. So I just stopped reading all of that, but I put it out there, and people have been responding just like you responded, like all of you here tonight, and sending in these glorious letters to this beautiful man, and sending checks. And we're going to put enough in there to make sure that Ram Dass stays here on Maui. And make it happen. So here's the letter. It's on the internet. You can go on my website, WayneDyer.com. I've never been on it, but I don't have a computer. I'm inspired, not informed. One of the truly great men of our time needs our help. I write these words to encourage your generosity and support. Back in the 1960s, a Harvard professor named Richard Alpert left behind the hectic world of academia and traveled to India. There he was to meet his spiritual teacher who gave him a new purpose to fulfill, along with a new name. He is, of course, Ram Dass. His guru told him, love everyone, feed people, and see God everywhere. Ram Dass became a person who lived out this mandate. He did what so many of us could only dream. He connected to his spirit and devoted his life to serving others. In 1969, he wrote and published the signature book on spirituality and applied higher awareness. Be Here Now. In keeping with his commitment to love everyone and feed people, he donated all of the royalties and profits to foundations that did just that. With millions of dollars at stake, Ram Dass simply chose to live his life as a man of service to God. After years spent in India in pursuit of a higher, more enlightened consciousness for himself and for our troubled world, he returned to the United States to lecture throughout the country. He spoke to packed venues wherever he went, and as always, he donated the proceeds to such causes as would keep him in harmony with his mandate to serve. He co-founded the Seva Foundation, and his writing and lecture fees were primary sources for this compassionate and inspired work. To me, Ram Dass was and is the finest speaker I have ever heard, period. He was my role model on stage, always gentle and kind, always speaking without notes from his heart, sharing his inspiring stories, and always with great humor. I tell you this from my own heart. I could listen to his lectures for hours and always felt saddened when they would end. He was the voice for applied spirituality. His life was the model. When he was threatened by having his own private sexual preference exposed in a time when a closet was the only place that was even mildly safe, Ram Dass called a press conference and proudly announced his preferences to the world. He paved the way for tolerance and love when no one else would dare to do so. Most of us could only dream of defying the conventional life and living out our inner callings to promote a cause that was bigger than our own lives. To leave the security of a guaranteed career, to leave a country where comfort was ensured, all to live in a foreign land with few conveniences, traveling and meditating for a more peaceful world. It is what St. Francis did in the 13th century and what Ram Dass did in our lifetime. When Ram Dass's own father, who largely criticized his son's unconventional lifestyle, was close to death, Ram Dass devoted himself to 100% service in those final years. He fed his father, he bathed his father, he placed him on and off the toilet until the day he died. Why? Because he felt this was his mandate. He wanted to experience true service on a 24/7 basis and know firsthand the joy that comes from giving one's own life away in the service of others. Always, for over 30 years, Ram Dass has been in the service of others. In 1997, Ram Dass was struck by a semi-paralyzing stroke and became wheelchair-bound. Still, he wrote of his adventure in a powerful book titled, Still Here. He continued to travel, though he could no longer walk, and continued to speak to audiences, though he spoke from a slowed-down body, but still he did it to serve others. Now it is our turn. Ram Dass's body can no longer endure the rigors of travel. He has come to Maui, where I live and write. I speak with him frequently, and I'm often humbled by the tears in his beautiful 73-year-old eyes as he apologizes for not having prepared for his own elderly health care, for what he now perceives as burdensome to others. He still intends to write and teach, however, without the travel. We can now come to him. Maui is healing. Maui is where Ram Dass wishes to stay for now. He is currently living in a home on Maui, which he doesn't own, and is currently in jeopardy of losing. I am asking all of you around the world, to help purchase this home and to set up a financial foundation to take care of this man who has raised so much money to ensure the futures of so many others. To live out what Ram Dass has practiced with his actions, please be generous and prompt. No one is more deserving of our love and financial support. In the end, these donations will help ensure that Ram Dass and his work will reach another generation, or remind a current generation that it is in giving that we receive. If there has ever been a great spirit who lived in our lifetime, literally devoting his life to the highest principles of spirit, it has been Ram Dass. I love this man. He has been my inspiration and the inspiration for millions of us. It is now time to show him how we feel by doing what he has taught us all to do. Just be here for him. Now, in love and light, Wayne Dyer. Ladies and gentlemen, my teacher, my mentor, Ram Dass.
Wayne's letter is really a work of art. And the mailbox has been chock full of love letters with checks. And my guru said to me, speaking about himself, you know, he said, I have all the money in the world. And this proves it. The after effects of Wayne's letter have been reverberating in my life. Let's see. My father liked rich and powerful people, and he'd like to look like one. The car he'd drive, the coat he'd wear. And so I have spent many of my years trying to look like a rich person. But I didn't realize it until Wayne's letter came along. Because Wayne's letter portrays me as somebody in need. And Wayne's letter will go out and out because he has a mailing list of 3 million. Whew. So they're all going to look at me like... So here was a good vignette. I was out at the LA airport, and I was sitting in my wheelchair on the curb on the roadway waiting for my ride. And a couple came along and touched me on the shoulder, and she said, "We read Wayne's letter." and he said, "Maybe we could help." And he opened his wallet and he took a $20 bill.
The love you speak of so tenderly towards your guru, I feel the same way towards you.
Me?
Yes, towards you.
No.
And so many people here do as well.
But you're being taken by a fraud. I mean...
and so are you. I was being prompted back there. They said, "Well, you know, we have to close this, and there's this and that, and we have to do it." And I said, I just want to sit here with my hands together and just be with you. I love it, and you so much.
Well, Maharaj-ji's behind it all.
I know that. I'm feeling a little bit manipulated by him.
Yes.
Right?
You think you feel manipulated.
Well, when those big bags of checks come in, I keep thinking, wait a minute, why aren't those made out to Wayne Dyer? And I said, wait a hold. I stop myself and remind myself. Would you like some water? Are you?
No.
No. Okay. We have a 4-minute segment. I think it's ready, Raghu. Do you have it there on the CD? Great. We're going to play this, and then we're going to talk a little bit about it. And then we put a microphone up here, and we want to take a few minutes to have some of you who have had experiences of the great teachings of this man, perhaps to share or ask a few questions, or just share what you feel. Or as Ramdas, when I talked to him about all of these wonderful letters coming from all over the country, he never even mentions the money that's coming, and he says, the letters, the love, these love letters. And maybe you can share a few of yours here tonight as well. So listen to these words. We'll talk a little bit about it, and then perhaps you can share a bit, and then we're going to do in about 20 minutes, we're going to go to the other room and do a reception. Can you play that for us? It was beautiful. What is this beautiful? This is great.
Well, there is a process of being very honest with yourself about what you need at any point. And, I mean, Maharaj-ji said to me many years ago, give up money and you'll know God. He said, give up sex and money and you'll know God. Thus far, I have given up neither of them. But it's only 25 years. Transmission's very slow. See, I keep hearing it. I mean, what does he really mean? It's the way I do it. And I thought back to the way that my Maharaj-ji instructed me to deal with anger, and which was such an Eastern way of doing it. That, I mean, we in the West would be appalled at this. he said, love everybody. Many of you know the story, so I'll just give the short version. He said, love everybody, and at another time he said, tell the truth. And I realized the truth was I didn't love everybody. So I either had to love everybody or tell the truth. So I decided, since usually I made believe I loved everybody, which wasn't true, I would shift gears and I would tell the truth. And the truth was I didn't like most of the people I was around. So I started to say, I don't like you, because that's my truth. And get away from me, you bore me, or you're very arrogant, and I kept pushing people away. And pretty soon I hated everybody I was around. I think Maharaj-ji had something to do with it, because I don't remember such violent antipathy towards so many people. And there were, I think, 30 people with me, and I hated all of them by the end of it. And he kept saying, love everybody, and then they'd call me from the back of the ashram, Ramdas, Maharaj-ji wants to see you, and I'd go running up, and he'd say, Ramdas, I'd say, yes, he'd say, love everyone, I'd say, yes, Maharaj-ji, and he'd say, Jao, go away. Then a little while later, Ramdas come up, and I'd come up, and he'd say, Ramdas, tell the truth. I'd say, yes, Maharaj-ji, and he'd say, Jao, Jao, and I'd go. So I was struggling with this as best I could, and one day I was so angry at everybody, and I wasn't touching money in those days. So I usually had a bagman, somebody that carried my money, which is kind of a superficial way of doing that trip, but he told me to give up money, so I just gave up holding it. So it's a start, believe me. So I walked to the temple because I couldn't get anybody to put money in the bus for me since I was so angry at everybody. And so by the time I got to the temple, which was 8 miles of walking, and everybody had been there for hours playing with Maharaj-ji, and they were all eating when I got there, and I came over the hill and looked down at the temple, and I was furious. I hated them all because I had to walk, and I was, So I came in, and a fellow went and got me a plate of food, and he brought it to me, and I took it up, and I threw it in his face. And Maharaj-ji was watching this from across the courtyard, and he said, Ramdas. So I went over, and he said, something troubling you? And I said, yes, I hate all these people. And I said, in fact, and it was bubbling up in me. I started to cry. I said, I hate all them, and I hate me. In fact, the only person I love is you. He said, you love me? I said, yes. And I was sobbing, and I said, but I hate all them. And he got milk, and he poured milk in me and hit my head and pulled my beard. And then he said, I told you to love everybody. Came up really close to me, and I said, yeah, but you told me to tell the truth. And then he came up really nose to nose, and he said, tell the truth and love everyone.
What does that mean? Tell the truth and love everyone. What was he telling me?
Well, we're so dishonest about loving people, and it forces me to bring those two together, to see, like, I love everybody, Maharaj-ji. That isn't the truth. That isn't the truth. And I'm honest, that isn't the truth. And when he bring those, he kept calling me one time, love everyone, one time, tell the truth, never bringing them together.
Mm-hmm. Mm. How do you react, Ramdas, to events like 9/11 or war and all of that? Where do you go in your mind with that? I mean, so many people here are sharing the same kind of consciousness that you and I do, but don't know what to do with that. Where do you go with it in your mind?
You know, the acts themselves are terrible in our hearts. But I live with Shiva, in which the good and the bad are all part of the one. And for example, the September 11th act, the television for about 2.5 weeks had many people dealing with the great issues of humanity. And that wouldn't have happened
without it. Yeah. There's no accidents there.
Yeah.
Even if we did it. Yep, we did it. We did it right. Thank you.